Hi friends, this is Sarah from Crafting and Relaxing. Welcome and thanks so much for joining me, whether you're brand new or you've been with me since the beginning. Today I'm showing you 5 blue cards that I made and some process video on it. And the concept of these cards is really simple and the process is a little different, so I wanted to share it with you. First, I borrowed the Get Well Soon dies and cut a bunch of those. I had them in my little notebook. So one day I made a bunch of sentiments, and then one evening I realized the next morning I needed Get Well cards, which is why I had borrowed that die. So I cut the card base, the navy cardstock, and the patterned paper. I just cut those and glued them together while I was sitting in bed and did those. And then this part, I usually need a counter for this part or a table. So I just did this. This is early morning before I'm gonna see the person. These cards are also unusual because all I used for them is the die cuts, a 4x6 pack of patterned paper, and navy cardstock and enamel dots. That's it. I essentially used these 4 items and glue. And I did that for 2 reasons. I was in a hurry, and also I'm trying to really make sure that my cards mail well. You'll notice on these when I flip those over, the navy has die cuts out of it because I keep all my paper together, the navy, and I made shapes for 4th of July, and then I put those navy card bases in there. So if you're trying to save on paper and be efficient, you can die cut out of that back layer. You're going to see a lot of interesting little paper saver things in here. I like blue. I don't want to waste blue. That would be crazy. When you're putting glue on your die cuts on the back, remember that you don't have to trace the letter. You don't have to trace W-E-L. It's not a spelling test. Just try and get glue at the utmost edges. So see how I went across the bottom of the word soon, and then I went across the top. You're just trying to get glue on the edges. Sometimes we think like the word and we're spelling it all the time. The enamel dots I put down in different ways, just depending on how big my die cut was. I was trying to spread them out further. Then I'm using my ATG gun. You could use a glue stick for that part. You don't have to have an ATG gun for sure. And I really liked how these cards turned out. I also had 5 card bases left that were stamped with my Crafting and Relaxing stamp, and they were all horizontal. So I'm experimenting with the Get Well Soon as a vertical, but the reality of it is I don't have time or interest in folding and stamping card bases, so I in the end realized that I have to make them horizontal. If you have a stash of card bases or you're making them as you go, it doesn't matter, but I didn't want my stamp that says Crafting and Relaxing to be sideways. The other ones were so big and there was so much white in that pattern that I got out the smaller ones. My friend Noni had 2 different Get Well Soon dies. Then I die cut a circle, again out of scraps. I keep all of that beautiful navy paper in the same thing. And here I'm zooming in so you can kind of see I'm just hitting the bigger sections. And I am using the Barely Art glue. I'm really enjoying it. I'm thinking this Barely Art Precision Craft glue is pretty great. And then I just put the layers together with my ATG. I could use the Barely Art on that blue circle too. I don't know why I didn't. Probably would have been easier. And then put some enamel dots on it. If it's a die or a stamp that you've worked with a lot, you have an idea of how it lays out on a card, and you can repeat it pretty fast. Or, if you've had a stamp in your collection for a decade, you know. So lots of times when you see somebody on a video and they just know right away how it's going to fit on a card and they don't stop and think about it, that's because it wasn't new. And in this video at the beginning, I left in that part where I was fiddling, and then also when I switched to the other die, because I wanted you to see that that's real life. This is 5 times the speed because I didn't want you to have to wait through it all, but it just gives you an idea. And I just used regular tweezers, nothing fancy. They are brand new because I lost some other ones. And then I came back in with my sand eraser because I got glue on that. I wouldn't recommend using your sand eraser on a real dark paper. It kind of left a mark. So I don't know. It might be because that's a very inexpensive cardstock. That's the 65-pound from Michael's that I try and get on sale for like $2.50 or something like that. And I love these cards. Again, you can see that I've die cut stars out of the back of that one. No problem. The recipient will not notice. I thought about using bling instead of enamel dots, and you could, but I was trying to keep these gender neutral because we don't know who's going to need this card. Then I went back to my 4x6 pad and found some scraps, and you notice in this pad, I absolutely love it, so I'm not throwing away the scraps. I'm keeping them in there, and I just wanted to brighten up the inside of the card a little bit. And I think that these cards are absolutely precious. This pad was sent to me by Crafty Reasons here on YouTube, and I just love it. I think it's fabulous. I hadn't seen it in a store. And if you had actual scraps because you'd chopped and made a bunch of cards, you could use those, but I just put some strips in there. I got out the envelopes and I thought about stamping on them. And I could have put maybe some circles or, I don't know, a smiley face. But again, I'm trying to keep it gender neutral and I have no idea who it's for. Thanks so much for watching. I hope that inspires you to make some cards. You could do Christmas cards this way. Bye-bye.